What if I told you that the quiet you crave isn't loneliness, it's healing? In a world that never stops shouting, this video reveals why those who love staying home aren't avoiding life. They're mastering it. By the end, you'll see why the stillness you once felt guilty for could be the very thing saving your sanity. Stay with me, because what we uncover next might change how you see your own peace forever. There's a certain kind of quiet that only exists when you're home. Not the quiet of boredom, not the kind that feels empty, but the quiet that feels like safety. It's that soft moment when you hear the hum of the refrigerator, the tick of a clock, and realize nobody needs anything from you. It's not loneliness, it's peace. Most people don't understand that. They see someone who loves staying home and assume they're antisocial or afraid of the world. But home isn't an escape from life. It's where life finally slows down enough to feel real. Out there, in the chaos of comparison, pressure, and performance, it's easy to lose yourself, but inside your own walls, you find who you truly are again. Maybe that need for quiet started long ago. In classrooms too loud, on buses too crowded, surrounded by people who seem to thrive in noise. For some, every social space felt like a survival test. Speak louder to be heard, pretend harder to be accepted, smile wider to seem okay. So they built an inner world instead, a softer, slower, more forgiving one. And that's how home became more than a place. It became a sanctuary. Psychologists say people who love staying home often have higher sensitivity to their surroundings. Their brains take in the world more intensely. The flashing lights, overlapping conversations, constant energy, it all hits like a wave. So when they finally step into the quiet, it's not avoidance, it's balance. Their nervous system whispers, "Here, I can rest." But let's be honest, it's deeper than overstimulation. There's something almost sacred about it. Home is the only place where the social mask comes off. The smile that's practiced, the small talk that's rehearsed, the performance that keeps the world comfortable. When the door closes, the show ends. What's left is the unfiltered version of you. The one who doesn't need to impress anyone. The one who just exists. Have you ever noticed how you can be surrounded by people and still feel invisible? But sitting alone at home, you suddenly feel seen? That's not isolation. That's intimacy. Solitude is where your soul recognizes itself again. We live in a culture that worships constant activity. We glorify the busy, the loud, the visible. Silence makes people uneasy, and stillness gets mistaken for laziness. But those who understand solitude know something others don't touch on tea. Stillness isn't the absence of life. It is the space where life begins to make sense. There's an old saying, if you don't go within, you go without. For homebodies, going within isn't retreating, it's returning. It's how they process emotions, recharge energy, and reconnect with what's real. Because when you're constantly surrounded by people, your identity starts to splinter. You become a different version of yourself for every audience. But when you're home, you are the only audience that matters. Of course, solitude isn't the same as withdrawal. Even the most introverted hearts need connection. The difference is depth. People who love staying home often form stronger bonds, not weaker ones. They crave relationships where silence feels comfortable, where you can sit beside someone and not need to fill the air. It's presence, not performance. And here is something fascinating. Psychologists have found that people who spend intentional time alone often score higher in creativity and emotional intelligence. Not because they're smarter, but because they reflect. They process rather than react. In that stillness, ideas spark, clarity forms, and wounds begin to quietly heal. Think about it. Your biggest realizations probably didn't happen in a crowded party or a busy cafe. They came in quiet moments. The shower, the late-night stillness of your room, a slow walk with your thoughts. That's the hidden power of home. It gives your mind the silence it needs to finally speak clearly. But here's the irony. Many people who love staying home feel guilty about it. They think they're missing out, like the world is moving without them. And social media only feeds that fear, showing endless reels of parties, travels, and smiles. But what they don't show is what everyone is chasing underneath all that noise: peace. And for some people, peace just looks like staying home. Stay until the end of this video, because what comes next will show you how embracing that quiet might be the most powerful thing you will ever do for yourself. What if I told you that your home isn't just a place? It is your body, its way of healing your mind. In a world obsessed with hustle, this video uncovers why staying home might be the most powerful act of self-care you all ever make. By the end, you'll understand how stillness restores what constant motion steals from you. Stay with me, because what's coming next reveals why your quiet space might be your greatest source of strength. There's something deeply human about needing a place to retreat, to pause, to reset, to breathe. Long before Wi-Fi and work schedules, monks escaped to mountains and caves to find silence. Today, we find it in bedrooms, cozy corners, or small apartments filled with books, candles, and soft music. It's the same ancient impulse, the need to return to stillness after the storm. The home has simply become the modern temple, a sacred space for ordinary souls. And here's the science behind that sacredness. When you're home, your body shifts into what psychologists call a low-threat state. Your brain stops flooding you with cortisol, the stress hormone, and your defenses finally relax. That's why your thoughts feel clearer at home. That's why emotions rise to the surface when the world goes quiet. It's not a weakness. It's healing, disguised as stillness. The body knows it's safe enough to feel again. But not everyone sees it that way. You've probably heard people say, "You should get out more," or "You're wasting your youth." They think stillness equals stagnation. What they don't realize is that staying home doesn't mean doing nothing. It means doing the invisible work that matters most. Reading, reflecting, journaling, dreaming. These are quiet revolutions happening behind closed doors. People who love staying home aren't avoiding the world, they're preparing for it. And when they finally step back out, they bring peace instead of noise. There's a psychology to this too. The brain craves predictability because it feels safe in familiarity. When you know where everything is, when your rituals repeat, the same coffee, the same playlist, the same morning light filtering through your curtains, your mind exhales. To others that might look boring, but for those who understand, it's balance. Each ritual whispers to the nervous system, "You're home now, you're safe." Yet, in a world that glorifies productivity and constant motion, that kind of stillness feels rebellious. We're told that to matter we must always be seen. That stillness equals failure. But homebodies quietly defy that illusion. They prove that value isn't measured by movement. True meaning often comes from stillness, from being rooted long enough to notice the way rain taps against the window, to feel gratitude for small, unshared moments of beauty. And maybe that's why people who love staying home often have the richest inner worlds. Solitude becomes a seedbed for imagination. They begin to see patterns others overlook. The poetry in everyday life, the way sunlight glows against a wall, the way dust swirls like galaxies in a quiet room, the distant laughter through thin walls. There's beauty there, quiet but profound. A kind of happiness that doesn't need to be posted or praised. Some will never understand that kind of peace. To them, silence is heavy, and solitude feels like punishment. But for those who love being home, silence isn't emptiness. It's music. It's the hum of being enough. And here lies the paradox. People who love staying home aren't detached from life. They feel it too deeply. Every sound, every emotion, every interaction leaves a mark. When the world gets too loud, they don't run away. They protect their own peace. It's not about fear of others. It's about caring for the self. You can tell a lot about a soul by how they shape their space. Some homes breathe with light and laughter, plants reaching toward sunlight. Others glow softly with the scent of coffee and candle wax, wrapped in gentle shadows. Each home is a mirror of its inhabitant, a reflection of their emotions, their values, their rhythm. The quiet ones build warmth. The dreamers build comfort. The thinkers build order. And within those four walls, they create worlds no one else will ever see. Yet those worlds are where their truest selves finally come alive. But don't go anywhere, because what comes next will reveal how this kind of stillness doesn't just heal you emotionally, but rewires your brain for clarity, creativity, and calm in ways the outside world never could. What if I told you That the quiet moments you spend at home could actually rewire your brain for peace, creativity, and confidence? Most people chase success by running faster, but what if slowing down was the real secret to moving ahead? In the next few minutes, you will discover how the stillness of home is not holding you back. It is helping you rebuild from the inside out. Stay with me, because what's coming might completely shift how you see rest, purpose, and yourself. When you spend time in stillness, your brain begins to heal in ways science can actually measure. Researchers have found that quiet reflection activates the default mode network, the part of your brain that sparks creativity, memory, and self-awareness. That is why your best ideas come in the shower or when you're lying in bed staring at the ceiling. In silence, your brain finally connects the dots that noise keeps apart. You're not zoning out, you're tuning in. Have you ever noticed how, when you stop forcing things, clarity just shows up on its own? That's what solitude does. It softens the static. It lets your thoughts untangle and your emotions settle into something that makes sense. That's not laziness. That's the mind returning to its natural rhythm. Out there, you're in survival mode. Here, you're in creation mode. And the beautiful thing is, once you start embracing that, everything changes. You stop measuring your worth by how much you do and start valuing how deeply you feel. You stop chasing every invitation just to prove you're living and start realizing you already are. You start to see that being home, being still, being with yourself is not missing out on life. It's learning to live it consciously. Ever wished you could just press pause on the world without feeling guilty for it? This is your permission slip. You're not lazy for needing quiet. You're human. The most emotionally intelligent, self-aware people don't fill every silence. They listen to it. They understand that healing isn't loud. Growth isn't always visible. Sometimes it happens in the slow unfolding of an ordinary evening, with nothing but soft light and your own thoughts for company. And here's what's truly powerful. When you begin to honor that stillness, it doesn't just make you calmer, it makes you stronger. Your relationships deepen because you've learned to be present without performing. Your creativity expands because your mind isn't drowning in noise. Your confidence grows because you know who you are when no one's watching. But here's the part most people miss. Stillness isn't meant to keep you hidden. It's meant to prepare you to return to the world more grounded, more intentional, and more whole. The home isn't a cage. It's a cocoon. And when you emerge, you don't just show up. You show up as your truest self. So the next time someone tells you that staying home means you're not really living, smile gently, because you know something they don't. You're not avoiding life, you're aligning with it. You're not missing the moment, you're creating one. And if this message resonates with you, take a second before you scroll away. Think about what your version of home really means. Not just the place, but the feeling. The space where you return to yourself. Because that's where real peace begins. And it's right there, waiting for you, in the quiet you once felt guilty for loving. Don't go anywhere just yet, because in the next part, we'll uncover how to turn that sense of peace into power. The kind that follows you everywhere you go, no matter how loud the world gets. What if I told you that loving the quiet of your own home isn't a flaw? It's a form of wisdom. In a world that glorifies constant motion, this video uncovers why stillness isn't weakness, but a deeper kind of strength. By the end, you'll see why the people who find peace in solitude are often the ones who understand life most completely. Stay until the end, because what we uncover next might just help you carry that peace everywhere you go. The more you study this, the clearer it becomes. Staying home isn't about laziness or fear. It is a rhythm of being. Some people are wired for movement, thriving on the pulse of crowds and chaos. Others are wired for reflection, drawn to rhythm, pattern, and peace. Neither is superior. They're simply two different expressions of being human. But because society worships the extroverted, the constant doers, the quiet ones often wonder if something's wrong with them. The truth is, they're not broken. They're just tuned to a different frequency, one the world rarely pauses long enough to hear. And there's beauty in that difference. The world needs both. The ones who chase and the ones who reflect. The explorers and the observers. The noisemakers and the listeners. Because often, it's the listeners who give life its meaning. They're the ones who turn chaos into understanding, noise into language, and distraction into depth. Without them, the world would never stop long enough to make sense of itself. Maybe that's why so many writers, thinkers, and artists feel most alive when they're home. They're not escaping the world, they're absorbing it. They take solitude and shape it into something visible. Words, art, insight, beauty. Their homes become extensions of their inner world, each corner reflecting memory, intention, and emotion. Every small detail becomes an echo of their soul. But this isn't just for the artists. For anyone, home is the place where we process life. It's where we unpack emotions we couldn't express outside, where we gather the scattered pieces of ourselves after too much pretending. That return, coming back to your truest self, is one of the most essential human needs. No matter how far we travel or how busy we become, everyone needs a safe place to land. For some, that's found in people. For others, it's quiet. 4 walls, soft light, and the sound of their own heartbeat reminding them they're home. There's something sacred about those who choose stillness over spectacle. It takes real courage to turn away from the noise, to step out of the endless performance of being seen, and to find value in invisibility. Because in that invisibility, something extraordinary happens. Authenticity returns. You stop living to impress and start living to express. You stop racing others and start listening to yourself. And suddenly what once felt like walls begins to feel like wings. That's the secret psychology of people who love staying home. They're not escaping life. They're embracing it differently. They're noticing it, feeling it, honoring it at a slower rhythm. They're not running away from the world. They're creating one that feels humane again, one where the soul can breathe. And when they step outside, something changes. They don't bring chaos. They bring calm. Their presence feels grounded, peaceful, like quiet water in a loud world. Because once you've found peace in solitude, you stop searching for it in noise. You stop asking others to make you feel whole. You carry wholeness with you. You carry home inside you. So if you're someone who loves staying home, stop apologizing for it. Stop letting the world convince you that peace is unproductive or that comfort is complacency. You're not missing out. You're tuning in. You're doing the invisible work most people never make time for. Healing, reflecting, aligning. And that quiet work is the foundation of everything else. Because when the world feels uncertain, when everyone's chasing meaning in motion, it's often the quiet ones who've already found it. Not in noise, not in crowds, but in the simple rhythm of ordinary days. The warmth of morning light, the softness of evening rain, the heartbeat of stillness inside a space that finally feels like yours. That's the real beauty of staying home. It is not about walls or windows, it is about finding peace that cannot be taken away. The home isn't just a structure, it's a mirror of the soul, a sanctuary built out of patience, presence, and authenticity. It's where you meet yourself again and again, until one day you realize you were never really alone. You were simply coming home to yourself. And if this message resonates, don't just click away. Take a moment. Breathe. Look around your own space and feel what it gives you. Because somewhere in that quiet, your truest self is still waiting to say, "Welcome home." What if I told you that staying home isn't a sign you've stopped living, but a sign you've finally started? In a world addicted to noise, motion, and validation, this video reveals the quiet truth. Peace doesn't mean giving up. It means coming home to yourself. By the end, you will understand why doing nothing might just be the most powerful thing you ever do. Stay with me because the final insight waiting for you here could completely change how you see stillness. Sometimes people assume that staying home means you've given up on life, but in reality, it means you've stopped running from yourself. There's a strange, grounded peace that arrives when you no longer chase every invitation, every trend, every weekend plan that promises excitement but delivers exhaustion. You begin to realize that joy doesn't always need an audience, that the most meaningful moments often happen when no one is watching. The sound of rain tapping the window, the smell of something baking, the soft, slow dance of sunlight across your floor at 4 p.m. You start to notice details you used to miss. The steady rhythm of your heartbeat when the world finally feels far away. The quiet satisfaction of doing things at your own pace, the freedom that comes when your mind is no longer fighting for space in the noise of others. That isn't isolation, it's a reunion. a reconnection with your own thoughts, your own breath, your own being. But even in that peace, guilt sometimes lingers. We live in a world that glorifies visibility, where being seen feels like proof of being alive. If you're not posting, not performing, not constantly proving you exist through movement or updates, people start to assume you've faded. But maybe fading from their eyes is exactly how you come back into focus for yourself. Maybe disappearing from the spotlight is how you finally start to see clearly. Quiet living isn't about vanishing. It's about existing without pretending. At home, you learn something profound. Solitude isn't the absence of connection. It's what makes real connection possible. You realize not every friendship needs daily updates to be real. Not every dream needs an audience to matter. Not every day has to be productive to be meaningful. There's a quiet beauty in the invisible life, the kind where progress is personal and moments go unrecorded. It's in the little victories no one notices, the soft healing that happens when no one's keeping score. And maybe that's the hidden secret about those who love staying home. They are not stepping back from life. They're walking toward it. Slowly, intentionally, without the noise. They're rediscovering what it means to simply be. Not to impress, not to achieve, but to feel. Because when you finally stop performing and start existing, you begin to understand something that changes everything. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do isn't to push harder or go further, it's to pause. To sit quietly in your own company, without distraction or disguise, and realize that at last, you are enough. You've just come full circle, not escaping the world, but rediscovering your place within it. And that's the quiet miracle of staying home. It's not about hiding from life, it's about finding the version of you that life was too loud to let you hear. If this spoke to you, take one deep breath right now. Let the silence settle, because in that silence, you're finally home.